And I give the floor now to the representative of China.
President, I thank USG Di Carlo, Ambassador Lambrinidis of the EU delegation to the UN, and Ambassador Zborga, permanent representative of Slovenia, for their briefings. Israel and the United States, on the grounds of possible future threats, resorted to the use of force against Iran in serious violation of international law and Iran's sovereignty. What's more, striking Iranian nuclear facilities that are placed under the IAEA safeguards sets a bad precedent, which threatens the international non-proliferation regime, which China once again unequivocally condemns. The aforementioned acts have also undermined diplomatic efforts to resolve the Iranian nuclear issue and created a high degree of uncertainty to the implementation of Security Council Resolution 2231. China is gravely concerned and deeply worried about this. President, China has noted that some members of this council have done nothing but accuse Iran of violating its non-proliferation obligations in an attempt to justify the military actions of Israel and the United States. Here, China wishes to remind these countries of the following basic facts. It is none other than the United States that started the Iranian nuclear crisis. The United States unilaterally withdrew from the JCPOA in 2018. Thereafter, it reinstated and escalated unilateral sanctions against Iran and adopted measures of maximum pressure which prevented Iran from enjoying the economic dividends conferred by the agreement and forced the country to reduce fulfilling its obligations under the agreement. It is again the United States, throwing to the wind its own credibility, launched military strikes against Iranian nuclear facilities, undermining the negotiation process initiated by itself, leading the Iranian nuclear issue to yet another impasse and resulting in an abrupt escalation of the regional situation. Iran's sincerity in resolving the nuclear crisis should be valued. Up till today, Iran continues to fulfill its nuclear non-proliferation obligations and implement the Comprehensive Safeguards Agreement. Iran has repeatedly stated that it does not seek to develop nuclear weapons. It conducted several rounds of professional and pragmatic negotiations with the United States in a constructed manner and never abandoned its diplomatic efforts. However, some countries, citing the report of the Director General of IAEA in a one-sided manner and ignoring the positive aspects of Iran's cooperation with the agency, pushed for the adoption of a resolution by the IAEA Board of Governors without adequate consultations, thus jeopardizing the atmosphere of dialogue while intensifying tension and confrontation. We call on these countries to reflect long and hard on the adverse consequences of their irresponsible move. President, China is of the view that we have yet to exhaust all diplomatic means to resolve the Iranian nuclear issue, and there is still hope for a peaceful solution. It is necessary for all parties to draw lessons from this, restart dialogue on an equal footing, and promote the return of the Iranian nuclear issue to the track of a political settlement. I wish to stress 3 points. First, the priority is to stop the fighting. Facts have shown that force is not an option for resolving international disputes, and there's no way that it can resolve the Iranian nuclear issue now. China has taken note of the current developments on the ground and looks forward to the realization of a genuine ceasefire that can effectively hold. The parties concerned should take practical measures to prevent the situation from escalating again. Meanwhile, the international community must make efforts to cool down the situation and promote dialogue and negotiation. Second, we must recognize that a political solution is the only way forward. The core aim and objectives set out in the JCPOA and Resolution 2231 remain valid in the next step of the political settlement of this issue. We must adhere to the general direction of a political and diplomatic solution and oppose the use of force and illegal sanctions. In order to balance the objectives of nuclear non-proliferation and peaceful uses of nuclear energy, Iran must continue to abide by its commitment not to develop nuclear weapons, and parties should fully respect Iran's right to peaceful uses of nuclear energy as a state party to the NPT treaty. All parties should insist on addressing the legitimate concerns through dialogue and consultation on an equal footing. Third, to start a dialogue and negotiation is the fundamental way forward. China supports all efforts to relaunch the Iranian nuclear negotiations and believes that this is also the position of the vast majority of Council members. The Security Council should play a constructive role in assisting parties in building trust, bridging differences, and creating conditions conducive to the resumption of negotiations. Relevant countries should abandon the practice of threatening to activate snapback mechanism at every turn, as this will only aggravate tensions and confrontations and even further jeopardize diplomatic efforts. A proper solution of the Iranian nuclear issue has a direct bearing on the authority and effectiveness of the international non-proliferation regime and is crucial to peace and stability in the Middle East. At present, the situation in the region is at a critical and crucial juncture. China calls on all parties to act with a higher sense of urgency and responsibility to de-escalate the situation as soon as possible and resume negotiations at the earliest possible date. As a permanent member of the Security Council and a party to the JCPOA, China will continue to maintain an objective and impartial position, strengthen communication and coordination with all parties to build synergy, and uphold fairness and justice with a view to playing a constructive role in restoring peace in the Middle East and promoting a political solution to the Iranian nuclear issue. Thank you, President.